Okay, so last week I posted about 9/11, which I do every single year, and I get all these people asking me, hey, why are you so insensitive about 9/11? Here's my answer. So first and foremost, 9/11 was a tragedy of epic proportion. It never should have happened. It was disgusting. It was horrific, and I completely disagree with the mentality behind it. As everybody knows, 2,996 people lost their lives on that particular day, 19 of them being hijackers, so 2,977 Americans actually perished in the whole tragedy. Horrific. Let me just get that off the table. Here's where the insensitivity starts. I did not know a single person who died in 9/11, and I'm willing to wager that nobody that I'm friends with on Facebook did either. Now, obviously, in the whole 6 degrees thing, somewhere out on that lineage, you're going to know somebody at some point, but with that logic, you're going to know people all around the world in the first place. So that's point number one I want to make. I didn't know anybody personally who died in that attack. Here's point number two. The United States has killed indiscriminately since 9/11. Okay, so let's focus on point number one. I didn't know anybody who died in 9/11. Okay, so then some people tell me, well, here's the difference, is that we're really close to New York, so somehow that matters. Well, it turns out that Austin to New York is 1,500 miles, so I drew a little radius on Google Earth using 1,500 miles. You know what else is in 1,500 miles? Almost all of fucking Central America, not to mention Mexico, and God knows we don't give a shit about people dying in Mexico or El Salvador, so why the hell should I care about people dying in New York? What's the difference? But Watson, those are Americans. Their lives are more important than other people around the world. Which means the only thing that this can really come down to is some type of American exceptionalism. The idea that somehow my life is more valuable or more important than somebody on some other part of the world, or that your life is. And I don't believe for a second that my life is any more valuable than anybody else's life, and I don't believe that your life is any more valuable than anybody else's life either. I think it's just as tragic that people are going to die tomorrow at the hands of American coalition forces as they did die 10 years ago in an attack on the World Trade Center. Point number two. We are killing an insane amount of people on the other side of the world. In fact, some of the higher totals right now put this at about 1.4 million casualties, civilian casualties in Iraq alone. 1.4 million. Let that settle in just for 1 second. We had 2,977 Americans die, and it's estimated that we've killed 1.4 fucking million people in the other side of the world. To put that in some mild perspective, that's like over 480 World Trade Center attacks that we've committed on the other side of the world since the one that we received 10 years ago. To put that in another perspective, I live in Austin, Texas. Texas is a state capital. That would be like dropping a bomb in the center of Texas and leveling every single person in the entire metropolitan area, which is about 1.25 million people, and still having 200,000 that you have to hunt down and kill after the fact. Every single person I've ever associated with in Austin, Buda, Kyle, Dripping Springs, Round Rock, all gone. Everything dead. That's what we have done since. Do you happen to have children? Right. Imagine when you came home and found out that their legs and arms have been blown from their bodies and they're laying helpless dead in the street. That's what it's like. So then it kind of comes down to this. If you do believe that, if you do believe that your life is somehow more valuable than somebody else's, then you're just a fucking asshole, so it doesn't matter. If you don't believe that, then you come to my point, which is what I'm saying. Why would I mourn the deaths of somebody in New York if I don't mourn the deaths of people around the rest of the world? And I know I don't mourn the deaths of people around the rest of the world, so why the fuck, again, do I care if people died in New York? Why am I going to make a whole fucking federal holiday for something that I had nothing to do with, that doesn't affect me in any way, shape, or form, other than the fact that we're using it as a leverage point to kill other people elsewhere? So if as a nation we're not going to mourn the deaths of the people that we're killing on the other side of the world, then why should I have some compulsion to mourn the deaths of the people that died 10 years ago in the World Trade Center attacks? It doesn't make any sense. So this is why I take a particularly negative attitude about 9/11, because rather than being a fucking cheerleader for a day about something that we had nothing to do with for people that I never will know and that you probably don't know either, wouldn't it be better if we would take all that energy and use that to stop killing people elsewhere in the world, something that we actually do have control over? I think that would be a much better idea. And that's the end of my rant.